So welcome to the class, and in this we are going to do the difference between flexible exchange rate and the fixed exchange rate. So generally we're going to do the difference. Now regarding say what is a fixed exchange rate? Under the system of exchange rate, they are officially fixed by the government in terms of say any other currency, and so that they remain fixed. Flexible exchange rates are determined by the forces of demand and supply of the supply of foreign exchange in the market. Then what is the role of the central bank? Here the central bank stands ready to purchase and sell their currencies at a fixed price. And in flexible, the central banks, they don't intervene, but they permit the exchange rate to be freely determined in the foreign exchange market. And regarding changes, exchange rate generally remains stable at very small change in the fixed exchange rates, whereas all the time it's flexible, as the term suggests. The meaning of flexible is what? Ever changing. So let me just talk a little about fixed exchange rate. So under this fixed exchange rate system, the government fixes the exchange rate at a particular level. The central bank actively uses its foreign exchange reserves. Now, we have what is known as foreign exchange reserves when we do balance of payments. We'll come across this term, so just keep a note of it, foreign exchange reserves. So it actively uses its foreign exchange reserves to maintain the officially determined exchange rate. So an exchange rate between two currencies fixed at government level is called fixed exchange rate, and generally it is above or below the equilibrium, the market equilibrium, because that's government intervention. So in the market determine if the market whatever the market determined exchange rate is, when the RBI intervenes and say if it is above the equilibrium, so what happens? There'll be excess supply, so it will purchase the dollars for rupees in the foreign exchange market in order to absorb this excess supply. So through government intervention, the government can maintain any exchange rate in the economy, but that way it will be accumulating more and more foreign exchange so long as this intervention goes, say, above the equilibrium, and in the others it'll below it it'll deplete. So talking about fixed exchange rate, there are many questions that sort of come to your mind, like what are the merits of fixed exchange rate? That could be, say, it's stable and certain because it doesn't change as much. There's not much fluctuation. Then measures of and you know what happens? It sort of encourages movement of capital and goods because it removes uncertainties of foreign trade. Then it is also a measure for controlling inflation. Fixed exchange rate acts as a safety valve against import of inflation. So fixed exchange rate forces the government to keep inflation in check because inflation causes deficit of balance of payments accounts. Then regarding movement of resources, fixed exchange rate creates confidence in foreign currencies, which is a basic condition of international movement of resources. Okay. And then, of course, very little speculation. Flexible exchange rate encourages speculation in foreign exchange. Fixed exchange rate checks speculation. So that is the basic idea. Now, after all, why do we have to come to the flexible exchange rate? Because there were some demerits. So this is fixed exchange market violates the concept of free markets. So they didn't like too much of government. So role of government, fixed exchange rate requires regular, vigorous control and monitoring by the government. Government has to intervene in international trade and balance of payment. So a government has to hold reserves, and regarding adjustment, fixed exchange rate needs to be adjusted. If not adjusted, there are chances of overvaluation and undervaluation. It is difficult to fix a rate that may prove to be in equilibrium. all the time. So deficit of surplus and balance of payments has to be corrected all the time. So a lot of monitoring has to be done here. So talking about flexible exchange rate, so what are the merits? So if you think about the demerits of fixed exchange rate, then you can talk about the merits here. So no government control. Flexible exchange rate removes the pressures on government to intervene in international trade and balance of payment. So deficits of surplus and balance of payment is automatically corrected. Flexible exchange rate frees the government to use its policies. Then it is an automatic process. Flexible exchange rate implies a continuous process of adjustment. Flexible exchange rate avoids the speculative pressures. Then balance of payment. Flexible exchange rate frees the government from the problem of deficit or surplus and balance of payments. Deficit or surplus and balance of payment is automatically corrected. So it's more or less that we talked about the automatic. Mostly both the points are more or less the same. Then flexible exchange rate system enhances the efficiency in the economy by optimum resource allocation. So they say there's but now we little bit about what are the demerits that we had to talk about a managed floating system to come about. That there is instability and uncertainty. Flexible exchange rate system creates situations of instability and uncertainty. There are wide fluctuations in exchange rates which hamper foreign trade and capital movements between countries. And also it encourages a lot of speculation. And flexible exchange rate also discourages international trade and investment by causing fluctuations in the value of currency. So that sort of, we've already spoken about it, that is uncertainty. So these are the basic differences between the flexible exchange rate and the fixed exchange rate. So you can get a question on what are the merits and demerits of flexible exchange rate and things like that.